Something massive is happening in the global economy, hidden beneath the surface of daily news headlines. When the world's largest asset manager silently relocates trillions, you know an unprecedented shift is underway. This isn't just about market fluctuations, it is a recurring historical pattern signaling the end of an empire. I have spent years studying the life cycles of superpowers to understand where America currently stands. My research reveals a distinct four-stage sequence that every dominant power eventually experiences before collapsing. We are no longer in the growth phase. We have entered the dangerous third stage of this cycle. To understand our future, we must first examine the fallen empires that walked this path before us. Consider the Spanish Empire in the 16th century, once the undisputed master of the known world. Spain discovered immense wealth in the Americas, flooding their economy with unprecedented amounts of gold and silver. This sudden fortune, their version of printing money, led them into the first phase, Ascension. They built the world's most formidable military and constructed dazzling cities that became centers of global culture. However, this unimaginable wealth bred arrogance, leading them into the second phase, Overextension. Instead of investing in sustainable industries, the Spanish crown financed endless, expensive wars across Europe. Their national debt skyrocketed to unsustainable levels as they borrowed heavily against future treasure shipments. The influx of precious metals caused severe inflation, making everyday goods unaffordable for common citizens. Soon, the interest payments on their massive debts exceeded the total value of their annual revenue. This fiscal irresponsibility triggered the third phase, the silent exodus, as wealth began to flee the country. Investors and merchants realized the Spanish economy was a ticking time bomb and moved their capital elsewhere. The final collapse was brutal, leaving Spain bankrupt and irrelevant on the world stage for centuries. This exact pattern repeated itself a century later with the rise and fall of the Dutch Republic. The Dutch Republic dominated the 1600s, inventing the stock market and becoming the financial center of the world. But just like Spain, they shifted from producing valuable goods to mere financial speculation and banking. The wealthy elite stopped investing in ships and trade, pouring their money into speculative bubbles like tulips. When the bubble burst, the Dutch economy shattered, leaving them vulnerable to the rising power of Britain. Britain then took the torch, launching the Industrial Revolution and creating the largest empire in human history. For 2 centuries, the British pound was as good as gold, the undisputed global reserve currency. But the cycle is inescapable. Britain entered the overextension phase by fighting 2 massive world wars. To finance these conflicts, they printed money and borrowed heavily, destroying the value of their currency. By 1956, during the Suez Crisis, the British Empire officially collapsed financially, and the pound lost its crown. This catastrophic failure paved the way for the United States to ascend as the new global superpower. After World War II, America owned half the world's wealth and possessed the mightiest manufacturing base existence. We were a nation of producers, exporters, and savers, firmly in the golden phase of ascension. The American dollar became the world's reserve currency, backed by the strongest economy on earth. But look around you today. Do you see a nation of producers or a nation of consumers? Somewhere along the way, we stopped making things and started relying on financial engineering to generate wealth. We entered overextension decades ago, fighting endless wars in Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan on credit. Our national debt has exploded to over $35 trillion, a number so large it is mathematically impossible to repay. Just like the empires before us, we are printing money to pay the interest on money we already borrowed. This brings us to the most terrifying signal of all. Stage 3, the silent exodus, is happening right now. The smartest money in the room is quietly heading for the exit before the burning building collapses. You might think the stock market hitting all-time highs means the economy is strong, but that is a mirage. The stock market is rising because the dollar is losing value, not because companies are becoming more productive. Now, look at the actions of the entities that actually control the global flow of money, specifically BlackRock. BlackRock manages over $10 trillion in assets, giving them more economic power than most countries on Earth. Recently, they quietly shifted a staggering $2.1 trillion out of American equities and into international markets. Why would the world's most powerful asset manager bet against the home team unless they knew the game was rigged? Their CEO, Larry Fink, has publicly warned that the United States debt situation is urgent and unsustainable. They are not alone. Billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg have been selling billions in stock at record rates. This is the textbook definition of the silent exodus. The elite secure their lifeboats while telling you the ship is unsinkable. They understand that when the debt bubble finally bursts, the value of paper assets tied to the dollar will evaporate. The interest on U.S. debt is now costing more than our entire defense budget, a critical tipping point for collapse. The government has two choices: default on the debt or print trillions to pay it off, causing hyperinflation. History shows they will always choose inflation, sacrificing your purchasing power to save the system for one more day. This is why the cost of groceries, housing, and energy keeps climbing. It is not prices going up, it is money going down. We are rapidly approaching stage 4, the collapse, where trust in the currency completely breaks down. In the past, this phase led to the fall of Rome, the Spanish bankruptcy, and the decline of the British Empire. For the United States, it could mean the end of the dollar's reign as the global reserve currency. When that privilege is lost, all the dollars held overseas will flood back home, triggering an inflationary tsunami. This sounds terrifying, and it is, but it also presents the greatest wealth transfer opportunity of our lifetimes. Those who understand the cycle can prepare, while those who ignore history will be left with worthless paper. The solution to surviving stage 4 is to stop playing the game by the rules of the collapsing system. You cannot save your wealth in a currency that the government is actively debasing to pay off its mistakes. The smart money is moving into tangible, finite assets that cannot be printed by a central bank. This is why central banks around the world are buying gold at the fastest pace in over 50 years. They know the dollar's dominance is ending, and they are returning to the only true money that has survived millennia. Real estate, commodities, and scarce digital assets like Bitcoin are becoming the new lifeboats for capital preservation. The goal now is not just to make a profit, but to protect your purchasing power from the coming storm. Do not be distracted by the political circus or the daily noise of the mainstream media headlines. Focus on the fundamentals: debt levels, money printing, and the movement of institutional capital. When BlackRock moves trillions, it is a signal that the structural shift is no longer a theory, but a reality. We are witnessing the end of an era, but every end is also a new beginning for those who are prepared. Imagine being the person who bought land during the chaos of the Great Depression or gold before the 1970s inflation. That is the opportunity standing before you right now, disguised as a terrifying economic crisis. Educate yourself on financial history, because the schools will never teach you how the system actually works. Take control of your financial future before the government decides it for you through inflation or taxes. The window of opportunity to position yourself is closing as the velocity of the collapse accelerates. Do not let your hard-earned wealth vanish because you trusted a system that was designed to fail. Be the eagle that sees the storm coming and soars above it, rather than the ostrich with its head in the sand. The patterns of history are clear, the warning signs are flashing, and the exodus has already begun. The only question left to answer is, will you follow the smart money, or will you go down with the ship?